This is going to be a slightly different video today, covering a driving test that happened in Garretts Green, but it's not going to be sped up. So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll get the full uncut version where you can see everything as it happens. If you're watching on TikTok, I will have to cut it down to the bare basics. So if you're watching on TikTok and want to see the full thing, switch over to the YouTube channel where you can watch everything that happens in real time. This test ended up to be a pass and they only had 8 minors. A lot of the issues happened inside of the cabin, so it'll be a bit harder for me to point out. At the moment they'd noticed that the car to the left was pulling out, so they did the correct thing and held back and waited for them to pull out. They then did their all-around checks and started to move. If there is multiple tests coming out at the same time as yours, just make sure you give them enough room so that they don't feel nervous. As you can see, the road's quite tight today. There's only the one oncoming car, it's quite far away and it is holding back for them, so they continue just with regular mirror checks. He keeps a good space between himself and the trucks on the right. There was general all-round good mirror checks. Here the centre mirror was checked. He waited for the oncoming vehicle, checked his right mirror, started to move off, and then carried on, moving back to his side with the checks to the left. He's been asked to turn right and his positioning is good for this. He doesn't block any of the oncoming vehicles turning into the road. You'll notice there's quite a long gap here before he pulls out. There was cars quite far away. He did have a suitable gap to move out, but he didn't. So here he picks up a point for hesitation. If you think it's safe enough to walk across the gap, as a pedestrian, it's safe enough to drive across the gap. If you sit there at the biting point, ready to go, it'll be slightly quicker for you to move off. Obviously, if the junction is packed, you're going to be there for a while. Don't just sit there at the biting point for that entire time, because otherwise, your instructor may kill me because you may burn out the clutch. There's a build up of traffic here. Remember, your test will only be 30 minutes to 45 minutes, that's it. I've never really had a test run over. The examiners are so good at their jobs, they know exactly what roads to take. So if there is a build up of traffic one way, they may change it to take you around another way. So don't stress if you get stuck in traffic, you're not going to be driving for longer. You'll notice that there's some quite large gaps he could have moved out here. Again, slight hesitation, so he picks up another minor mark here, so that's now 2 marks for hesitation. He keeps a good positioning in this roundabout and uses the 12 o'clock rule, so he sticks to the outside for going straight ahead. This road is a 30 road. Currently he's averaging about 24 miles per hour. He picks up a minor fault here for appropriate speed. He's been asked to go straight ahead at this roundabout. It's actually the third exit. He does take it from the inside of the roundabout and then moves over to the left just before his exit. Now this was a single lane roundabout and he did look to the left before he moved back over, so this is absolutely fine. He's now been asked to pull over on the left. He manages to stop just before the driveway, even though you just can't quite see that on camera. If he'd have stopped any further forwards, there could have been a few faults happening. You're not allowed to block driveways or junctions while pulling over on your test. However, on some occasions, the examiner may tell you to ignore driveways on this occasion, and then it's absolutely fine. They're not trying to trick you. Coming up to this junction, he picks up one minor fault for hesitation. It's nice and clear to the right, but he doesn't emerge out. This could be quite a busy roundabout depending on what time of the day your test is. He's been asked to go straight ahead at the first roundabout and left at the second roundabout. There is 2 lanes on this roundabout, so it is important you follow the 12 o'clock rule. As he's coming off this roundabout, he sticks to the left-hand side of the road. He notices the road markings are telling you that it has to merge over to the right. He checks the correct mirrors and then starts to move across. The crossroads coming up, he's turning right. There's only 1 lane opposite on this crossroads, so you should be taking it on the offside to offside position. It's nice and clear, so he doesn't have to worry about that. He's been asked to take the next road on the left. He only enters it once the bus lane is completely clear. There's a lot of judgment and meeting situations on this road. It's always good to look ahead, find gaps that yourself or the other vehicles could move into if you do have to. One fault was picked up here for junction observations. It was nice and clear, nobody was around, but I think he only checked one of the sides with just his eyes instead of physically moving his head. This street continues with lots of different judgment and meeting situations. He saw ahead the car was oncoming. He was already proceeding on the road, so he moved over to the left to give him way. This is 100% the correct thing to do. Each time he moves back to the left, he looks to the left, and when he moves back to the middle of the road, he checks to the right again. If you're local to this area, you'll know that cars absolutely floor it down here. He makes sure that there's a safe, appropriate gap before he does emerge out. If you do have to enter this road, you can see the bus lane sign nice and early. When you are turning left, make sure you don't stick too much to the left and enter that bus lane, because that will end up in a serious fault, and possibly a fine coming through to you as well. He's been told that we'll need to move over to the left. He waits till the bus lane finishes and moves over at correct time. At the roundabout, he's been asked to go straight ahead. Now, this shows some advanced driving here, because at this roundabout you can go straight ahead in both of the lanes. However, what's important is that when you come off in the right hand lane instead of the left hand lane. He enters the roundabout in a good positioning, and then the last exit before his mirrors and signals off and then moves over. He now doesn't need to worry about the left lane that merges into his lane. All the way down this stretch is exactly the same thing. It now merges back to the left lane and you are required to mirror check before you move over. Due to his local knowledge, he knows that his lane's about to close. He checks his mirrors, signals across and moves to the middle lane before the left-hand lane starts to close. This shows good planning and awareness. He's keeping a good distance from the car in front. The lens is a little bit zoomed out, so it's quite hard to tell how far away he really was. He doesn't get any minor faults down this road. Now this is a tough one. The lady is proceeding in the road at the moment and she's the majority of the way across the road. He doesn't wave them across, he just allows the lady to continue crossing, and because of that the other two do as well. The examiner didn't mark any faults here. When I looked at the footage I wasn't quite sure, but then when you rewatch it you'll see she was correctly proceeding, so I think he did the right thing and so did the examiner. Also to note, there was nobody behind him at that time, so it was 100% safe to do. He's now been asked to pull up on the right and reverse 2 cars' lengths, everybody's favourite manoeuvre because it's one of the easiest ones to do. He waits for the cars to finish passing him and then he continues with it. He does get one minor fault here due to the lack of observations in one direction. He does the all-round checks, but it could have been more thorough. He's now doing the pull up on the right and reverse 2 cars lengths manoeuvre, everybody's favourite. He starts off well with all round observations, checking all of his blind spots before he moves. If any vehicles pass him, he stops correctly. He did get one minor mark here. At one point of the test, he was looking too much in his mirror, so he got a minor for observations. He moves off well after doing his all-round observations thoroughly. At the roundabout coming up, he's been asked to turn left. There were some clear opportunities to go here where the cars were signalling off, however he hesitates, so picks up one more minor fault for hesitation. He's now on 4. If he picks up any more faults for hesitation, he will fail and get a serious fault for it. So if you pick up more than 4 minor faults in any one category, it then becomes a serious fault. He's now on his way back to the test centre. He's done his manoeuvre, he's done his show me tell me questions, so all you now need to do is get back to the test centre without causing any serious faults that you know of. He knows at this point that the examiner has not taken control, so he's feeling good at this point, I think. At this roundabout, the examiner said, "I would like you to go straight ahead." It's actually the 4th exit on this roundabout. Fortunately, he was not hesitant at this roundabout. Because he currently has no minor faults, he is on track to pass, and he's so close to the test centre. If he had have got a hesitation there, it would have been game over a few minutes before the end of his test. I can't show you any more from here because inside the test centre there's currently some examiners outside, so just for their protection I won't be showing it on camera. He hasn't got any serious faults and only 8 minors, so he has passed his test. And I just wanted to point out, this in my opinion is a very tough route.